Here we are already hitting the cafes of Florence. And one of the first things we want to do is have lunch. This friendly guy runs a nice place just behind the Medici Chapel.
Because we love you anyway.
Fabulous fresh vegetables, some olive spread, fresh pasta, and ravioli with a truffle sauce. Oh, that was delicious. Fresh spinach. And you might even try the beefsteak Fiorentina. That's one of the specialties of Florence. Char-grilled T-bone steak, usually about 2 inches thick. And then we head out for a walking tour, leaving our Hotel Baglioni and into the streets of the city with our guide Anne. Now, we've taken you on many walking tours in Florence with Hawaii Geographic Society's World Traveler. And today we'll just show you a little bit of the experience at the Duomo here and the bell tower of Giotto and this great dome constructed by Brunelleschi back at the beginning of the Renaissance.
The dome itself is an architectural wonder.
The baptistery out front, an earlier building, and then tells us some of the salient points of this history. And then occasionally in Florence you run into these parades. They're all dressed up in their Renaissance costumes. Today just happened to be a short parade, and then we went right on into the Uffizi. This is the main art museum in Florence, a great treasure chest of the Italian Renaissance. You've got the great works by Botticelli, especially in here. Some early works by Giotto and Cimabue. There's even Michelangelo. There's a couple Raphaels. And after an hour or two, you've worked up another appetite and ready for dinner, perhaps. Here we're out scouting this restaurant, Antichi Cancelli. This was a nice spot, typical of the small restaurants in the back streets. And then the next morning, we're ready for another walk, and I give the group a little orientation about shopping. The shops open, but the main shops open this afternoon about 3 or 4 o'clock, and they stay open till 8. So they've solved the Monday morning blues here. They just take the morning off. Street markets are open all day, and some shops are open this morning. And so we take our stroll out here in the morning and check out some gelato as we go by, walking on the busy street of the city and then into some of the quieter back streets. Like Rome, Florence has these wonderful small lanes, and there's some beautiful palaces with these internal courtyards that are really magnificent. They're huge. In this case, we're in the Strozzi Palace. Their courtyard is free and open to the public, so you're certainly welcome to come on in and have a look. You can walk in a door on one side and walk out a different door on the other side as you continue along on your journey. There's also a museum upstairs that has various changing exhibits that are usually quite interesting and worthwhile. Walking further in these little back lanes, the paving in Florence is different than in Rome. Instead of cobblestones, you've got flagstones. Here's one of the great restaurants, Buco Mario. And another way to get around is by bus. We're going to take the public bus to have a look at kind of the residential back streets of the city, the place where the real people live. And we're heading for a truly wonderful destination. It's across the river, crossing the Arno River, and we're going to go up the hill to Piazzale Michelangelo. There's a copy of the David up there, and a spectacular view out over the city. It's really worthwhile. You could walk up here, but that's quite a hike and it's uphill. Instead, take the city bus. You'll be here in half an hour and you get this commanding view of the Duomo and the whole city spread out down below. It's a great spot for one of our group shots. And they've got souvenir stands up here. You can get a snack. And then it's really an easy walk back down to the city. Just go down the staircase Takes about 10 minutes to walk down the staircase, and you end up at the bottom of the hill, and you go through this impressive gateway that was part of the old medieval wall that stretched around the city. Really quite something. You don't see the wall and the gates when you're back in the center of town, but out here on the edge, there it is. So we pass through this gateway, and then you continue walking another 10 minutes through some really quite interesting Renaissance street scenes. We're across the Arno now in what's called Ultra Arno, and we're heading ultimately back to the Ponte Vecchio and back into the heart of historic Florence. And it's cool and shaded here. It's a narrow lane. Temperatures are usually pretty pleasant. In the month of June, it's usually in the 80s. It could be low 80s, mid 80s. Midday it could get a little higher, but it's usually very comfortable. A nice view of the Ponte Vecchio as we cross this old bridge. It's famous for its goldsmiths, fancy, expensive jewelry shops. And just on the town side of the bridge, you'll find the Piccadilly Pizzeria, another fine pizza spot similar to that one in Rome. Nice variety of pizza toppings to pick from, and they have a little garden out back with some nice picnic tables. Very casual. A good spot for a light lunch, and it just doesn't take long at all, and it's not expensive. You might want to splurge a little bit now and then for a real good restaurant for lunch, or certainly for dinner. But at the same time, it's nice just to have a light snack. And eating, it seems to never end here on World Traveler. Next morning at our Hotel Baglioni, we're having a grand breakfast buffet. They have got some delicious foods here at the hotel in the morning. Get your day started with some eggs and ham and sausage and bacon and cheese and yogurts and breads and coffee and fruits and juices. And some conversation with our fellow travelers in this elegant dining room setting. There's a lovely view out over the city from this top floor dining room as well. We're charging out of Florence already, though. That was just a quick glimpse of the city. We've taken you to Florence many times previously in World Traveler, and now we're just skipping through, hopping back on a train